Why are you so zoomed in? Super zoom. Super. Soup on a sandwich. I don't know why mine's so blue. What's going on there? I'm blue, dabba-dee, dabba-die.
Let's see if this works properly.
Ooh, you guys really can't see anything. Perfect. It's all orange now. It's dark in here. Dark is my soul. You guys don't. If you guys haven't already, if you don't mind, on the Facebook chats, perhaps putting it on there, giving a thumbs up, your little traffic. Just go to Facebook and you should be able to jump to either Team Nom or my page and it should show up. All the black magic. It's crazy. We're messing with dark magics. We'll comment back. I just remembered that I need to update everyone's character sheets on OBS. I think they're still level 3. I'm sorry, on OBS, the display hasn't been updated. I need to remember to do that on a regular basis, and I don't. Okay. This is the Earth. And I said, hey, that's a nice Earth. There we go. Much prettier. Much prettier. Yes, very pretty. Thank you, Sarah, for the thumbs up. By the way, the mic is live, so people can hear us. I just haven't started the video yet. One moment, hold on, I need to go get my clothes on. Who needs pants when you're doing webcam meetings? You just gotta put a shirt on. I guess that's Last night was a fun D&D adventure. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it either, but he kept egging me on to say we wanted to go do some kind of bar fight or a scam. So I was like, okay. That's the other one, yeah. That's the one that Roland DMs. We've gotten back into the swing of things. We've been playing the last 2 weeks. Yes. Look at all those smiley faces and hearts. Wow, thing. Burner, burner. You make my heart sing. I did not get a reply from a resident dwarf. Maybe it's because you were having a color rave. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna switch it over. We can probably get started. I haven't heard anything back from Dora Morlam, so I texted him. I didn't get anything back. So we'll see. If he shows up, then great. Is everybody prepared? Waiting on Benfina. Yep, you can see her in my webcam right here. We're waiting for the one I love to join us today. So the new D&D Beyond has some really cool features that I love that we found out last night. Like on the character sheets about when we go into the gold management's a little bit weird still. But I love the new actions section. I thought I was going to hate it, but I found that I really enjoy it. Right? Oh, I want to do a reaction. Reactions. Boom. Right here in a block. Oh, you want to do a bonus action? Boom. Here's all your bonus actions. So cool. Trying to think, the other does. Don't do it, roll 20. Don't do it. We had a power outage at work today. That was fun. Yeah. I got ready to go home and then suddenly the lights came back on. I was like, dang it. Exactly, right after I packed everything up. And that generator outside, I'm sure it had a beehive in it, so all those bees got woke up. Steve, does this look familiar? Can you come back? All you need is Roland. All you need is love. I'm gonna refresh and see if it fixes. Perfect. I do believe we are now live. I have the screen. It's still loading for me. I'm not really sure what's going on here. The hatching dragons. Hatching. Oh no! Don't go up there. Don't watch the stream. Yes. Are people saying things? People are talking. Yes. Turn your volume on. The volume's up. Go to your settings. No, down bottom right. There, click. Go to voice and video. Hold on, I'll mute my mic so you don't have to hear my explanation. I can see everybody but Aurora. Can see everything. Becca's the hinge pin. She can see everything. Everything. So tomorrow, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get my hopes up. We're gonna try and buy a motorcycle and get denied by the loan officer, I'm sure. But hey, it'll be fun. Hi, Penny. Can you guys go downstairs? Sterling. Just a second. I gotta. It's like whenever hers fixes, yours breaks, and vice versa. So instead of refreshing, go into the cog icon on the right and go down to where it asks you if you want to broadcast and receive. Make sure it says video only, and see, and then hit reconnect. See if that does anything. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, like feedback? Yeah, I'll let you know. You'll see it in my face and my ears. Alright, hold on. I gotta go chastise some children's. Oh no! Sounds painful. Yeah, that's one thing about this format that I'm not a fan of. There we go. No, it just shows everything to everybody. Anyone watching the stream?
I gotta get.
Okay, sorry, folks. Alright, pick. Let's make sure. Let's make sure. Yes, it's on. Okay, go ahead. Let's make sure that everything before we get started. Make sure we've got this input device. Desktop audio is now functioning. Go ahead and talk. I want to make sure that this is showing up on the monitor.
What client is it?
I got this.
Oh, so when we were introducing ourselves in class this last week, they were all like, "So, what is you guys' passion besides nursing?" And I was like, "I play D&D with my husband and my friends."
Yeah.
And everybody was all like, "What's D&D?" And
Let me tell you.
My instructor, he's all, "Oh, cool. I used to play WoW. They're similar." And I looked at him and I was like, "Yeah, they're similar."
If you mean that D&D was the grandfather of all of them,
Yeah.
Pretty much.
that's
And
funny.
then you spend the rest of the day explaining and playing the game with them, right? That's how that goes.
That's the best way to do it.
She started being the DM, and you know she just rocked it. She
Here
killed
I
them all.
am. Ba-bum, ba-da-bum.
As a nurse, you have to kill all of your players.
Exactly. How else are they gonna learn?
Yep.
Or at least name them really bad, so it gives you something.
It's an entire party of healers because everybody's like super into healing.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. Simply wonderful. From the rest of the night, I'm gonna try and sound like what's his face.
Yes, that guy. Good old what's his face.
Good old what's his face and what's her butt. While we currently await Infina to rejoin us, I don't know why.
Batteries and all this.
Had to get batteries and all that candy you found. Apparently her batteries died on her mouse. Tis the season, look, folks. This is just peachy. All right, let's get started. I think we've given enough leeway time. If you must blink, do it now. Pay careful attention to everything you see and hear, no matter how unusual it may seem. And please be warned if you fidget, if you look away. If you forget any part of what I tell you, even for an instant, then our band of heroes will surely contract dysentery. Is everyone sitting comfortably? Well,
I am immune to diseases, thank you very much.
except for him. He will survive.
Roland will stub his toe.
Have you guys seen
Oh,
that
my toe, I'm dead!
Oregon
My
Trail
toe!
for millennials?
What about?
Have you guys seen that Oregon Trail that's for millennials?
No.
What?
It's
I don't want to
freaking
look it up
hilarious.
right now, but...
It's yeah.
They're
I'll
hearing you
have to
through my
find
mic,
it.
by the way, because your mic's not broadcasting. Your microphone is not broadcasting. Can you guys hear okay? If you can hear okay, we can proceed like
Yeah,
this.
can
But...
you guys hear me?
It's very distant.
Okay, let's fix your mic then.
Distant, Terry.
Dysentery? She contracted dysentery! Alright, pick up
Okay,
Is that any
input
better?
device.
Yes.
I can hear you.
I believe. I'm going blind.
dude, you're freaking. Okay.
That look on his face is like, yes, I'm on crack tonight.
How did she know? Did she smell it on me? Just kidding. Anyways, all right. So last time, as you guys recall, you were entering into the Wave Echo Cave, seemingly coming up where you're trying to catch up with Sildar Hallwinter and Gundra Rockseeker, but you seem to have overtaken them and entered the cave, and looked over basically just kind of that entire area. Upon entering, you did feel again this overwhelming sense of magic. Just the magic imbued in these halls just permeates everything you touch, see, feel, and hear. Everything here seems to just thrum with magic. And you hear every 2 minutes, you're hearing that rhythmic crashing and beating sound that pulses again. It doesn't rock the earth, it doesn't knock you from your feet, but you feel that pumping, almost that of a large organ. Longsword 25, what is that? You attack the cave?
Was that me that rolled that?
Die, cave.
Sorry,
Yes.
I'm trying
Oh,
to,
you're okay.
I'm trying to make adjustments because apparently it still does have me at level 3.
Okay.
I wonder if I've been rolling with wrong stats.
Yes, that's possible. That's why I was something funky is going on. So something wicked this way comes. So as you guys had entered into the cave, you did find a small area that seemed to be a staging area for the encampment of miners and dwarves and other things, and finding the body of Gundren's brother. And upon finding this and kind of assessing the situation a little bit, you and your party had decided to continue deeper into the Wave Echo Cave. At which point, you guys had come down through the darkness, feeling your way as you went, using a torch and other things. Venfina getting a little bit... how do I say that? Did her own thing, split the party, so to speak, and happened upon a large room full of corpses, where it seemed to be a large battle had taken place. After which a swarm of sturges had attacked. You thwarted them, fended them off, and explored the remaining 2 rooms in what seems to be the primary, what at one point was the primary entrance to the Wave Echo Cave. You have dispatched the monsters in this area, and you have, last time, if I recall correctly, we have not taken a long rest yet, or a short rest at this point. You guys had felled your enemies and had kind of reaped a little bit of the rewards and are just catching your breath.
How late in the day is it at this point?
Let's see, you guys set out, got here late in the afternoon. I think you're probably pushing 7 or 8 in the evening at this point.
Yeah, I think that's what you said last time.
So it is dark. At this point, it's hard to tell what time it is from where you're at inside, but you get the sense that there has been a fair amount of time passed since you've entered the cave initially.
So I'll look around everybody and say, are we good to keep moving? Do we need a moment to rest? Do we need to camp here for the evening where we have a good barrier?
I want to move on.
Did we take a short rest? Or
I think we must have, because all my things are reset.
I think we took a short rest because
Short rest, yes.
I have some hit dice used.
Correct.
But other than that, it's like I still have spell slots missing and everything, so we didn't take a long rest. But I think we
Correct.
took a short one.
Thank you, Aurora.
sorry, I spelled it wrong.
It's okay. No worries. So as you guys are in this room again, I remind you that after having felled these corpses of both dwarves and these skeletal remains of both dwarves and orcs, there's that pervasive smell of just not even at this point. It's not even rotting. It's just simply just dust. The smell of post-mortem long since passed. The door itself, at this point, kind of swung open, hanging slightly ajar, and you see out into the hallway, which there at this point there is a little bit of a glow to the area. Let me see if I can get a light in there.
The door that Venfina's by?
Yes, so the door that Venfina's by right here. There is light emitting up here from that main corridor that you guys came from. So it's very, very light. But this room, it is darkened now that the torch has gone out. And this room itself, there's just stillness.
Okay. Was there light coming from there before?
That's the light. I'm sorry. Yes, that was from the braziers that went all around the
Yeah, they lit
roof.
themselves, right?
Yeah, they lit themselves.
Right.
It's what seemed to be
Lit one, yeah.
yeah clockwork or some type of
Mhm.
in there.
Black magic.
I don't know. I'm debating about staying in here and collecting ourselves because we're kind of closed off, or continuing on.
I'm collected. Let's go.
I should be okay. I've still got a bit of divine magic left in me, so we should be able to move on.
I still got one healing spirit in me.
And then I will walk out the door.
That changed for you guys? I think I might have screwed that up. Let me switch it.
I didn't say anything.
No change.
Go ahead. All right, now I'm screwing with these settings to see if I can make it so it's a little less apparent. Okay, there we go.
So I'm gonna walk. I'm actually gonna walk back to the room we were in previously.
Okay.
I want to take a look at these lanterns
Okay.
and see if I can figure out, because it's obviously some sort of artifice.
Okay. So go ahead and roll me a history check on these. Maybe investigation, whichever's higher.
Yeah, it was history was higher.
Okay. So looking at them, they're up high enough that on this lip, it's kind of hard to see where they're at. You get the sense that these are being fed somewhere else, and you do smell in the room some kind of a gas being burnt.
Can I roll an investigation check?
Go ahead. What are you investigating?
Sorry, my thing's all closed on me.
That's okay.
I would like to investigate just around here. There's like, it looks like it's been collapsed, that hall right there.
Huh?
I just want to see if there's anything useful over there.
Okay. Go ahead and roll your investigation.
I want to check for traps as well at this next door.
just gonna move forward to the
So this door right here,
rolling.
that door you've already opened.
Oh, how?
So that door is still hanging ajar. This room, as you guys went into it, just as a quick...
We went there first.
Yeah, that one's it seemed to be a gnomish, some kind of a clerical room with papers that have long since just turned to dust. So
and I grabbed the torch, by the way.
Okay.
That was on the ground.
Okay, perfect.
Which, I'm trying to remember how much time is left on it here. I have it somewhere.
Okay. So just keep track of that time on that one. For your investigation, as you're kind of looking through the rubble and sifting, there doesn't seem to be anything of import in this area, specifically in the opening to the cave. You're starting to see, as you're kind of pulling things away, you're starting to see what seem to be roots of different things growing down through. So you get the sense that above you that the terrain has changed radically, whether that be from natural from an earthquake or something else, that this has collapsed in on itself, and there doesn't seem to be anything as you're kind of digging through the rubble.
So it just looks like that the building couldn't support the terrain any longer.
Correct. It looks like something during the fight or at some point, it's really hard to tell what caused it to collapse, but that particular tunnel, this as finely crafted as everything else is, you get the sense that it was either for a defensive measure to close the cave to keep it safe, or possibly something that a large earthquake or something else, something powerful, ended up kind of munching this in on itself. Because the stone that you have is very finely crafted, very very smooth in most places. So it's unusual for something like that to crumble so easily.
So I'll walk back to the group with planned intel, hopefully.
Okay.
And say, it looks like there's one tunnel that we haven't explored, off to the, and I point to the right, because I'm not really sure which direction I'm facing at this point.
Okay.
Should we all go check that one out?
Is that the one that we're heading down?
No, that's back to the north. But since we've come into this cave, if we head down to the right there, we might find something of value or something that might lead us in the right direction.
Is this not the area where Venfina split off from us? Like I thought we were.
That is. So Venfina is right here.
Right.
She went down. So this is where you guys originally came from. This is ping.
That's
You
right.
guys went up here, and she went straight.
Yeah.
She kept walking.
And Clinton, I'm talking this tunnel right here.
Correct.
Yeah, that's the way Venfina went.
No.
This is the way.
You're standing where
that
Venfina went.
Yeah, this is where the Sturges attacked us.
Oh, this is where the Sturges attacked?
Yeah.
Yep.
So as you enter this room, you see Sturges littering the floor and lantern
So
light.
have we been here?
Yes, you guys went in the room, and that was like a kind of like a post office, if you will, a clerical room for.
So we know
The
there's
cave.
more to the north, but you want to go check out the right first?
Yeah, I think we should go check out the right since we came down this tunnel anyway. So let's.
We were talking about working south and our way up anyway, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's. I'll take the lead.
All right.
And start heading down the tunnel.
I'll take
And don't forget, Roland, to check for traps. This place is awful dangerous.
I like stop as I'm about to like step on a stone, thinking that it might be like one of those stones that's like a pressure stone, and I just get suddenly very nervous, and I will roll a trap check.
Okay.
I like that you called it a trap checking check.
So you look at it, and you are dead certain this has to be some kind of claymore or other item that is going to kill everyone. Like you're not quite sure what they would look like, but this has to be it. Make a dexterity saving throw for me.
Dex saving throw, go! I dive out of the way.
Okay, so you kind of tuck and roll, and then nothing happens.
I come up and I like spin around, and if I see anybody like coming towards me, like if anybody's just taking a step, I go, "No, donuts are mine." I mean, the whole thing's a mine, but you know that's a smaller, more explosive mine. Trust me, it makes sense if you know how to craft things. Just don't step on that rock.
Make a persuasion check for me.
think that should be performance.
So you guys, you see his nervousness, and you kind of pierce through he's kind of that was just kind of like he's making shadows out of, or making monsters out of shadows. In that particular case. So you guys,
I'm gonna double check his work.
okay, go ahead.
You're gonna make a trap checking check?
So trap checking check. It looks like stone. Because he kind of stepped on it, you're kind of feeling around it, but you're also kind of not quite sure how pressure plates might work in this type of environment. This is, again, you get the sense that this place is very old, and that magic and other things, a lot of artifice that has been lost to the ages. So you're not confident that it's not a trap, but you're relatively certain that it's somewhat safe.
Hey guys, what's the holdup up there?
I'm like kneeling down and marking this with like chalk now.
Do
I have chalk?
Yeah.
Chalk.
I'd say that there's probably stones in here, like white stone or
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I'm like scratching
There's
on
rubble.
the floor and on the wall, like, landmine, do not touch, don't step on me.
Perfect.
Did you see my perception check? Up
Perception. I did not. So your perception check. What is the perception check for? Is that to?
there? Well, just observing the situation and perceiving what I do.
So you're perceiving that with a 14 that everybody is just kind of. We're a little on edge after what had happened in the last room, but not really to the point of paranoia, but just your words have struck a chord with Roland and getting him to be vigilant.
Once I am confident that every bit of like area is marked that I think there is trap, like don't step within this square outline, I will stand up and continue cautiously down the hall to look for traps.
Perfect. All right, so you guys move at a slow pace. As you're kind of walking forward, you start to see. You realize as you're walking forward, the further forward you walk, the more you realize that you don't have a torch or a light source, and it gets darker.
Where's my torch?
Did you light it?
No, I already had it lit.
Oh, well, I remember in the last room that you had dropped it and had extinguished.
No, I dropped it in the middle of the room so that we could fight the skeletons without it.
Oh, okay. Okay. So it's lit. It's lit then. Okay, so then you do have it. So you're seeing it, but the flickering light and other things, you're a little bit haggard and tired, and so it's you're not seeing much of what you would normally expect to see from an investigative point.
I'm getting a little impatient, so because I know people think that I run into stuff, I'm gonna stealthily walk to the front of the group.
Okay, roll a stealth check. And Benfina, what's everybody's passive perception? So as you're stepping over, you step on her tail, yeah. And the cat, you has as she kind of pulls back and looks at you kind of wildly.
I'm just got like the torch waving in front of me wildly.
Well, we were gonna kill some stuff tonight, but we're getting stuck in the hallway, so.
I don't think this tunnel is safe. I think it might collapse at any moment.
I'm smelling Tiger Lily's butt over here. Let's get moving.
Wait, you're sniffing Tiger Lily's butt?
I'm walking behind her.
Okay. I'm going to admit something to everybody in the group. I may not know what to look for with traps. Perhaps somebody else can...
This is like the fourth check that you've rolled below a 10.
Yeah, I can.
Poor Roland.
It's okay, Roland. I'll take
I'll take
a
a
few
few
more
more
traps
up
up
here
here
and
Okay.
check it out. You keep this one.
Okay.
Venfina steps
Alright.
forward, and you feel that familiar pulse through the cave.
You
Wait,
want to know
so-
our passive perceptions?
Yeah, he rolled low enough. It doesn't matter. I don't think anyone has an 8 passive perception to see if he was there.
Like that same... It's like that magic pulse that's been happening?
It's just that rumble, that like almost like a single heartbeat through the stone. As you're kind of walking forward, Venfina, are you looking for traps? Is that what's going on?
No.
Okay,
not-
so
not-
she's
not-
treading forward.
Not anymore.
As you're walking forward, she just kind of strides past you.
Like doors. If we
If we
enter a new room,
room,
then
yeah.
Okay, so where from
But
where?
Dylan doesn't even know that.
Hallways don't have traps. Right, I get it.
So when from where Venfina's standing, you guys start to see a soft glow just beyond from where you're standing. You see that. Let's see. What you see, it's like it's this acrid green, blue, soft, bioluminescent algae like visual, where just this thrumming just glow. As you turn the corner, you start to see. For those of you who have low light vision, you can see it clearly. Otherwise, it's a little harder to tell what they are. But it's these mushroom fields and what seems to be fungus covering this entire area that just kind of.
Mushrooms. That'll give you dysentery.
Wait, is that what that is? I just see a weird blurry glow.
Roman, we don't know what it's gonna react to, so maybe putting your torch out might be advisable.
Okay, I'll go ahead and put my torch out.
Throw it
Okay.
in.
And
Maybe
just
just
holding
holding
on
on
to
to
Tiger
Tiger
Lily.
Lily. I don't
Like
know.
a
Do we
rope
have like a rope you could hold on to her or something?
You mean
You want me to put her on a leaf?
Wouldn't be the first time that I've been tied to Tiger Lily.
She can put it in her mouth. I don't know.
It's not for Tiger Lily, it's for
Roland.
Roland.
Look, there's enough of a glow for this room. I think I'll be okay. Right? I mean, it's dim, but I should be all right.
Yeah, you can see.
Oh, and I'm going to activate Divine Sense.
Okay.
I
So
just want to look and see if I can sense any sort of acrid evil. Or
remind me the distance. The 30 feet,
I'm looking that up right
60 feet?
now.
120 feet,
60 feet.
60 feet. Okay. So
So I'll hit that first bank of mushrooms right here.
So divine sense, looking up there, you're not sensing anything in front of you. And now this one, I get these confused between that and primeval awareness. The divine sense it gives you, if it detects something in a radius around you, right?
Yeah, there it is, right there. I've lost all sound. Great. Okay. Hello? Is everybody there? Ooh, I lost you there for a minute there. I got scared. I was in the dark and there were traps all around me and nobody was talking. And now nobody's talking again.
You were the only one talking.
Yeah, nobody else.
Oh, I thought I heard Preston talking.
I was talking.
That's fine.
Apparently my mic was muted.
He's freaking out, everybody.
I am so stressed out in this dungeon right now.
What is it going on? Stop it! Okay, so as you're feeling this, you feel again, you kind of allow yourself to channel that divine energy of Gond. And as you're feeling out into you're reaching out with your peelings. For those who've ever seen that. So now what you're doing is basically you feel nothing in front of you to this fungal source, but to your left, somewhere in the distance, you do feel the presence of undead.
Like directly to my left, or kind of like the left at the end of the tunnel?
This is like directly to your left through the wall.
So I'll turn right to the wall and I'll put my hand on it, and I'm just like, there is something truly undead on the other side of this wall.
Truly?
Truly, madly, deeply. As in, they're mad undead and they're deep in the wall, and I believe that's true.
Was it to come down this tunnel again?
But as far as
I didn't say I
ahead,
had good ideas, just ideas.
right? As far as ahead, you don't sense anything in front of you towards the fungal light source.
But the fungus isn't evil, at least. Now, saying that out loud, I realize how stupid that sounds. So let's just continue on. So I'll nudge Venfina, being like, "Okay, let's go."
Sorry.
Give me 1 second and I'll react to that.
If it's
So-
a glaive in the chest, please don't.
Right. So dense, as you get closer, you see dense carpets of weird fungi cover large sections of the floor of this cavern. The growth includes puffballs a foot across, weird shelf fungus on the stalagmites, and large stalks and caps a good 5 feet tall. Some of the puffballs grow with a glow, again, with that green, eerie phosphorescence that you see.
Okay. And I turn to Roland and cast Sanctuary on him to Here, Roland. Hopefully this will calm you and help you feel protected while we go through this area.
Something to take the edge off.
Perfect.
Ah.
So you feel the overwhelming pulses and waves of... I just had a complete blank mind. Diane wrecked. You feel the love and the peace and all that comes with that, and the safety just wash over you as you feel like you've just been cuddled up in a warm blanket.
That's pretty nice. I'm actually I'm going to pat her on the shoulder, say thank you, and then I'm going to squeeze past her and move into the room.
Okay. So go ahead and...
We have no time for songs, Benfina. There's a mushroom farm.
So he walks forward and marches. I need you to make a Constitution saving throw for me, please. So as you guys see...
So first of all, I have Sanctuary on.
Yes.
They're attacking me.
So this is not an attack, but as you're walking, you guys start to see the spores from the... This is a Constitution. You see the spores from the floor as he kind of walks begin to stir into the air and start to make lustrous clouds in his face. And Roland, as you're just kind of walking, you're kind of breathing.
Check that you don't have inspiration, maybe?
Oh, I do. I'm using that inspiration.
Okay, go ahead and use your inspiration.
And the way I'm justifying this is it's the divine power surrounding me. Okay, I got a 16.
Okay, so you start to feel this, and instinctively, you pull your hand up to your cowl up over your face, and you're able to keep these spores from entering into your system. But the thing that tipped you off was the moment these spores touched your nose and you felt your nose start to go numb, and you started to feel a stinging sensation as this neurotoxin of some form or fashion begin to attack your nervous system, but you were able to shake it off without any effect. But you do get the sense that as you've moved into this room, you've stirred up these spores, and then you see these puffballs.
Jeez, run! I turn around and I go, "Fly, you fools!"
Roland, what's wrong?
I kind of stumble back in, trying to like cough my way out of it and be like, they're poisonous and trying to paralyze me.
So as you're kind of approaching, Venfina, you're bringing with you some of these spores. Venfina, make me a Constitution saving throw, please.
Uh-oh.
I'm on the floor right now.
She's on the floor right now, changing the booty. So I will
That means
roll
it's an
for her.
automatic 20.
Automatic 20.
It's super stinky. How could you
Oh
not
my
tell
goodness.
that?
During the
Like,
clutch,
Boo-hoo.
That's-
This is the kind of quality entertainment that people
seriously.
want to see.
I know, right? I clicked the wrong one. I'm sorry. Let's see. We've got the Constitution saving
You
throw.
can't hurt me, spores. I'm too beautiful.
I'm too beautiful. She's fine too. So she's seeing you kind of approach and sees this other stuff. She takes her shield and just kind of bats away at the spores that are kind of carrying with you on the air, and pushes them back into the room.
and the mushrooms and stuff in the room. Can I see this happening?
Yeah, you can see from where you're standing. You see this that the spores in the room seem to have been just like any other fungal matter. They're just yeah.
If I recognize this.
Yeah, go ahead.
This fungi.
So 16. You have heard of these types of fungus that are not necessarily the way that they usually get food is they lure in prey in dark places, in caves and other caverns and things. using their light, and then once it's too late, they'll overwhelm and intoxicate that particular entity, whether it be a deer, goblin, orc, whatever it is. It will poison it in the hopes that it will die, and then it will be absorbed in circle of life.
Do I know any details as to how to combat it or like get around it, kind of thing?
With the 16, yeah, you would get this. You get the knowledge that a lot of times it's like a one-hit wonder in these type of situations. They will over the years and after digesting its last prey, grow into these spore balls that explode and kind of erupt into the air. Once they do go off, they tend to go off in a large group, and then it settles again. And it usually it varies based on how many there are, how frequent, etc. But a lot of things say they become relatively benign as long as you're not breathing the spores directly.
And what's the range of?
Basically, range is like if you have spores in your face, you're breathing it. You start to see in this room, the spores are kind of carrying on the air, but they're not as buoyant as air is. They still are settling slowly.
Like settle slowly, like a really light feather.
Exactly. And if you stir up them, you get a bunch in the air for a little bit, and then they come down.
So I'm gonna relay all that to them.
Okay. Go ahead.
What he said.
So I'll turn around and I'll be like, so do you think that was enough to trigger all the spores, or?
We can shoot an arrow in and see if we can't activate anymore, see if that would set off anything else.
Okay.
And maybe we need to do that for if we see any additional patches of these mushrooms.
Okay.
What do you guys think?
Do it.
Or do we
I was
try to
gonna
do it
do
the
it.
other way?
Should we land on fire and run?
That's kind of what I was thinking, is getting a torch out.
Should we burn things? This sounds like fun.
How fire might affect it.
Burn, baby, burn. Fungal Inferno.
Thanks, Preston. Now my 4-year-old is singing that.
I'm sorry.
You've been playing your bard too much.
I have. He's wonderful.
I was thinking maybe does anybody have anything that would be like a strong burst of like wind
Gust.
that we could shoot across the ground?
I can give you a strong burst of wind if you give me some chili.
Not from your butt.
Let's see here.
You know what I mean, though? Like, Clandon, you have that bird thing that heals. Like, what if it just like whoosh and flap?
We can always try this.
It's not really a physical form.
Pidgeotto!
What was that?
Arrow really fast.
Venvina?
Oh, I was saying we could try Misty step into the other side and see if there's anything worse.
What if you Misty step into another patch of the mushrooms?
I don't know if it's worth.
Alright, we got the arrow idea, Misty step, torch, or we go back the other way. What do you guys think is the best?
I have
You seriously
one
just kinda,
more.
like, not even my idea at all.
Oh, the puff of wind?
I got nothing. And we don't really have like a druid or anything that
could
I'll
come
figure
under
it out.
and
I'll let them do that.
I have one more plan that we can try. My clerical abilities gives me the ability to cast a ritual that allows me to detect poisons and diseases, and kind of sense the presence of poisonous creatures within a certain distance from me for about 10 minutes. I can kind of see if I can find a trail through there.
Maybe?
I think we honestly should just turn about and head up the way y'all were headed before.
But there might be treasure.
Or the Spellforge.
You continue to hear in the distance.
So this is just an area of death.
Can we try the arrow idea to see if it sets them off? And because we already know if we set off a group of them,
Yeah.
it's a one-shot thing, you know. If we shoot it and it doesn't do anything, then.
So as far as you can see from where you're standing, this little cluster has been activated, or you don't seem to see any more of these large spore clusters in that section.
So it's pretty obvious that it's kind of done for now.
They're large, yeah. I mean, they're like bulbous. Like when they explode, it's kind of like when you get those smoke-filled bubbles, and they pop the bubble and the smoke goes everywhere, kind of like that.
So I'm gonna kneel down and I'm actually going to spend the 10 minutes to cast the ritual. So it is this. Takes 10 minutes to cast, so I just like set out a candle really quick and light it, and I just start praying softly.
Okay.
And if everybody waits the 10 minutes, I'll be able to kind of detect that stuff. So once that's done, if it goes off without a hitch, that is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are these mushrooms in the middle still glowing?
There are still like toadstool-looking shaped ones that are still glowing. They don't glow as strongly as the large bulbous spore pods, but the rest of what you see here, it's a little dimmer in the room, but it is still lit.
Okay.
Have the spores settled from the first one?
Are you guys waiting for the full 10 minutes?
Yeah, we can wait the 10 minutes.
Okay. So while you guys are waiting, again, you hear the distant with the water and just like dripping and cave sounds. And Roland, as you kind of let this, how does this spell coalesce for you?
So basically, one of the components that I pull out of the component pouch for this is a yew leaf, and I kind of sit there and I spend some time folding the leaf in different ways, and then at the end of the 10 minutes, I stick it under my tongue, and I open up my eyes, and I just have I can just kind of this sense radiates out from me. It's not any sort of visible sense. It's just as I'm moving forward, if there is any sort of poisonous creature or diseased creature, I will be able to sense it within 30 feet.
Okay. You see before you a divine HUD of sorts, and as you're kind of looking around, you're seeing and identifying different patterns, and you're able to see a definitive like black or like a purple. It's not really a glow. It's like the inverse of a glow, like the absence of light, kind of outlining some of these things, both to the north and to the south.
I turn to Glenn and I say, "How close do you have to be to trigger these things?"
I can shoot them from pretty far. So.
Well, I mean, like if we were to just walk past them, how close could we get?
Do I know that, Dungeon Master?
Roll me another nature check. We'll see. Yes. Okay. So you know that you have to get relatively close. Again, these fungus, the way that they operate is much like a Venus flytrap in nature. They wait until their prey is basically in their clutches, and then they pop it. So it's usually within like 5 or 10 feet.
Ground near the patches. I think if you step within that area is what will set it off. So if we stay out of the green, I think we're okay.
Okay. And so I point over to the left and say, "There's a patch on the left, and there's a patch over there on the right. Let's move into the cave. Maybe we can take a few of these mushrooms. They could have some medicinal properties or something that could help us later, and we can kind of examine the cave so long as we stay away from those areas."
Dude, I wonder if we could even get some of the spores and collect them, and maybe concoct some kind of poison for our arrows, since.
Some sort of paralytic or something that we can use. That would be up to the rangers more than me. I'm not really good at gathering anything, but I can take a look around the room
How
if
do
you know why you guys do that. Well, these spores, and I point to the ones that I'm kind of closest to right now. These ones are inactive right now. Maybe there's some residual in there that you can pick up.
I'm gonna go ahead and approach them and see what I can see. See if I'm able to.
And by the way, Roland, you no longer have that little extra protection.
Oh,
right. Thank you.
Good to know.
So you feel a little chill come up your spine as like as you cast that spell, the warm blanket is removed. You're left to your own devices.
Okay, so I'm gonna walk around the room and can I see most of the room at this point because it's kind of all glowing and everything?
Yeah, you can see most of it.
Can I roll a perception check?
Go for it.
Or anything of value?
Yeah, go ahead and roll. And then Clandon, you were going to try and do. So for perception-wise, nothing in this room. This seems to be a room that wasn't like in the other rooms that you've been looking around in. You see a lot of corpses. This one you don't seem to see many. But as you look a little closer, you start to see like ivory stems poking out and here and there from places that you assume to probably be toes. Or other, these could have been heaps at some point of bodies that have since been just taken over by the natural order of things.
There's no armor or anything standing out? No? Okay.
Everything in this room has been dissolved or eaten or munched away. If it was here, it's no longer.
I see the tunnel to the
Yes,
north,
you do see the tunnel to the north, yes.
So I'll point that out as everybody's getting close. I'll be like, look, it looks like the tunnel continues on to the north. We'll have to skirt around the, or what I assume is north. Sorry, I don't know the direction. We'll have to skirt around the far edge of the wall to avoid that patch, but we should be able to continue on.
So, Clandon, you said you wanted to try and harvest some of this?
Yes.
Make a sleight of hand for me. And what are you harvesting this into, or what is your?
I want to try to get some of the spores, and I'm basically going to use one of the empty bottles of the potion of healing that I had.
Okay, sounds great. So knowing that this particular poison typically is something that is aspirated. This particular knowing that this is how this fungus works. It doesn't necessarily go through the skin or other things, maybe thin membranes like your eye or ear or things, but it usually attacks the soft tissues. So you know that you're relatively safe to take the potion, and you're able to use your sword to just kind of scrape some of it in there, and you're able to get one vial. Go ahead and put down. This is going to be a custom one. You just put down one vial of poisonous mushroom, and put that as page 45, please.
So I'll turn around to the group and I'll say, should we continue on north? It looks like we should be able to get past without too much difficulty.
Yes. Let's, now that we've kind of deactivated this one, I'm still a little worried about that north, because I can see patches of green that we have to go through, and I think we might activate that northern one. So you might want to try activating it with an arrow or something.
Go ahead, Mr. Archerman.
You want to stand back a little bit?
Mr. Archerman.
Do I actually need to, like, shoot?
Yes. Roll an attack. 18 hits, roll for damage.
Wait. Dang it, Steve, I told you to wait.
Alright.
What's up, Aurora?
Tiger Lily catches the arrow.
Oh my god! What are you doing?
Never mind, sorry. I thought I could do something and I couldn't.
Okay, no worries. So as you shoot through, you kind of line these up a little bit, and you get a couple of the stalks. And as you do, you see that all too familiar as these spores start to fill the air in that area. Each of them like just kind of floating around and coalescing, and after about a minute, they start to settle back down to the ground.
And I can tell all of this as the poison's fading, right?
Yes, you see it become inert as it starts. It doesn't seem to live very long outside. It's very potent, but it does not seem to live very long outside of its. It doesn't stay in the air very long. So as it kind of goes to the ground, you still see that there is danger there, but you don't see that it's not moving around or like chasing you or anything like that.
I think we should be good now.
All right, you taking the lead again, or Vinfina, you want to take the lead?
I'm just putting those red boxes to show the inert areas.
I will. I'll barrel straight ahead.
Okay, so you go ahead and you trudge through. As you're going through the kind of pushing these spores and some of the stalks and stepping on them, kind of going through. You start to enter into a new part of the cavern. You're not seeing any light from this area. As you're moving away further from these mushrooms, it gets darker and darker and darker.
Okay, I'm gonna relight my torch.
Okay, so you light the.
Yep.
And at this point, as you're kind of entering this area, what you're seeing is glittering minerals in the ceiling. As you kind of enter this room, having kind of adjusted your eyes a little bit to the soft light of the mushrooms, you see glittering in the ceiling what seems to be starlight. But as you kind of look a little bit closer, you see that these are gleaming mineral deposits. It is a very impressive sight. With as you look around on the room and the floor, there's dozens and dozens of skeletons. Many of them crushed under fallen debris, and they're scattered all over the place. The cave is large enough that it contains 2 freestanding structures, one to your right and one to your north, that you can't necessarily see, but the others that are dark vision could see. You see that each of these stone buildings is proportioned for humans, which is peculiar, obviously, for a cave, since up to this point it's all seemed to be tailored to gnomes and dwarves. And everywhere else, so both of these structures are very battered, and they're blackened masonry walls. Their double doors are cracked and scorched. The cavern is divided by an escarpment, into which a flight of stairs up here to the north, which again you can't see, but anyone with dark vision, I think I've broken your dark vision, but I'm sorry. You can see that the flight of stairs. The passages lead. There's the passage that you're coming in from. We know it to be south, but I guess you guys probably wouldn't know it either. And then to the north, there seems to go further. The cave goes further in. So to your right, you do see this again. Just charred building. There are pieces of this building that at one point seem to have been stone, but have been blasted by some means that have left this place scarred.
It's a lot of minerals up there.
Check it out.
So I'm going to move up here, and this is a door over here on the right, right?
Yes, it is. Anyone who is proficient in Arcana, make me an Arcana check, please.
I'm not, but I should be.
Okay. Landon, you, again, this sense of the magical presence that you felt in this entire cave, this room, it seems to be reverberating that same feeling of there's an aura of magic to this cave, and it's particularly strong in this cavern.
This cavern feels heavy of magic.
So, judging by what I know, there's skeletons all around me, you said?
Yeah, these skeletons, there's some that are over here that have been crushed by a large boulder that is basically just completely smattered some of them. They're strewn about the ground. There's some up to the north, some that are leaned up against the wall.
Okay, well, I'm going to cast Divine Sense then, again, just because I'm aware of what happened in the last time we walked into a room full of skeletons.
Perfect. Go ahead and roll. So you cast Divine Sense. You feel that
60 feet in front of me.
familiar,
Around me.
that familiar feeling of Gon's blessing washing over you, and as you open your eyes, the door in front of you is black. Black as night, and stinks heavily of undeath.
Oh my.
But as far as the room around you, you do not feel anything.
No skeleton death murder.
No.
Okay. So I'm close to the door, and I'm just like staring at it, and I look over at Venfina, and I'm like, "Are you seeing this?"
This is very unholy.
And as you guys are just kind of sitting there, you see as it's slick and black as night, and you see it like almost clawing at the doorway. Obviously, Venfina and Roland, because he cast that. Venfina, you smell it and you feel the presence of undead, but unless you cast it, you're not seeing this display.
So I turn to the group and I say, "This, whatever is inside or behind this door, is one of the most vile things I have ever seen or sensed before, and I don't think I can ignore it."
Are we duty bound to?
Have we been feeling those thumps still?
Every 2 minutes,
Okay, and
you feel the washing.
Getting louder or closer as you go into
Yeah, as you're kind of coming to the north, you do still feel them. They continue to. They're not necessarily getting louder or more raucous, but you do feel that it getting stronger. The pulse is. You feel them still into this room, but it is not coming from the door that you're looking at. It is coming elsewhere.
So I'm gonna blink away the divine sense, and I want to take a look at this door, like a really heavy look,
Okay.
and see if it's got any sort of symbols on it or anything.
So the doors that you're looking at, they are cracked. Their iron hinges are partially melted. What seemed to have been a sign at some point is just completely mangled and melted into just a pool of and rod of iron. The door itself, because of this damage and the way that it's kind of fused together, it seems like this door is what used to be two separate doors with iron bands and other things holding it together. Because it's so gnarled and cracked and the iron has actually fused together, this door is held fast into this position. You get the sense as you're continuing to look through this. Go ahead and do a perception check for me. Or investigation, I'm sorry.
Investigation. Okay. Not my strong suit.
So 13. As you're looking, you do start to notice symbols that are not familiar to you. There's not necessarily on the door itself, but scrawl work in the places where it's not completely just destroyed. In the stonework, you start to see these different runes that are not dwarven in nature, and they're not necessarily familiar to your school of magic.
Okay, they don't look like a language that I would know.
What languages do you know?
Dwarves, Elvish, and Halfling.
These ones would be Elvish in nature. So they're, but again, the way that they're fused together seem to be they're arcane. Yeah, these are arcane symbols that you're looking at. And they seem to not really have any particular purpose. They seem to be a little bit Art Deco in nature, but...
Does it look like there's any way to open the door?
You could open the door, but it looks like you'd have to use blunt force.
Well...
I'd also like to investigate.
Okay, go ahead. You're not really sure. You love the ceiling, and the glittering that it has is just enamoring. The site, for having such a... not necessarily evil place, but such a magical place, you feel almost like there's this holy reverence that washes over you, and you're just kind of taking it in at this time.
I want to just like scope out the rest of this cavern.
Okay.
See what else there is.
So
I'm gonna move up north and see up here without going too far.
Okay. So going up there, you see the stairs, an escarpment, basically a shelf where it dips and falls downward further, but you do see a stairway that kind of goes around and leads you down further into the cave. You see more skeletons and other remains, some of which are kind of draped over the hill or over the cliff, but for the most part, there's not a huge amount of other stuff there. You do start to notice that there's a pattern of everything seems to be going, for the most part, going outward or away from this building, but otherwise it's all the same. It's just, there's no rhyme or reason to it. Now, so Roland, what were you doing?
I am going to, well, first of all, I'm going to stick the torch close by the door so that I got a light.
Okay.
And then I'm going to start trying to heave these, heave the door open or bust it open or however I have to do it.
Go ahead and make me a strength check.
Just strength, not athletics.
How are you doing it? This one's basically, are you muscling it open or are you like shouldering it?
Yeah, shoulder checking.
Okay, shoulder check. Go ahead and do a athletics.
You know, I'm saying this, but it's the same either way, so
yeah,
I don't know why I'm complaining.
It doesn't matter. So 15. All right. So you see that these iron bars are that have melted together, fusing these doors in place. You see that there is a chink in their armor, and that in the fact that this weld was not a true weld. And you take your shoulder, you brace yourself for a moment, and you slam into the door, and you hear this as the bands break and pieces of metal fall to the floor, and you're ting 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 ting.
At the sound of that, I grab my bow and knock an arrow on.
Okay, and the doors just swing open, and dust settles into the room. You look in, as you're. Let me get the lighting set for you. Sec.
I have a bad feeling.
Okay.
Roland, did you check your trials?
Dust settles into this room.
I did. I didn't find any. Again, I'm not. But I didn't find any.
You see dust and ash, walls blackened with fire, and heaps of debris beneath the sagging ceiling. This room was damaged by a destructive blast. The furnishing, tables, chairs, bookshelves, and beds are all charred or splintered, but otherwise well preserved. There's a scorched iron chest sitting near the foot of one of the beds. This seems to have been a living quarters or dormitorium of some form.
A dormitoratorium?
A dormitoratorium.
Okay,
Miss Eudora.
I'm going to pick up my torch, and I'm going to go over to the iron chest.
So as you step into the room, you start to see the dust spin and coalesce, and you see a spectral figure begin to rise from the ground, and you hear the words. You hear, "Your presence is offensive to me. Your life is forfeit. My treasures are mine alone, not yours to plunder. Why do you trespass here? Mormax demands that you tell me." So I'm trying to click him at the same time. And he is right here. So you see him coalesce as he snaps into form. You see before you a wraith in its full fully manifested form, with his rippling robes and dark kind of black torn asunder stuff. You see that he may have been a mage at some point, but it's hard to tell with just his undead nature.
My name is...
Did I hear something?
You, from out there, maybe?
What was that noise?
You would have heard the clang, but...
My name is Roland Greenfield, Knight, Paladin, and Acolyte of Gone. I do not come seeking treasure, but knowledge and justice. If you are an evil creature, you will be slain by me.
he laughs as you guys see. Let me make sure this is in your players' journals. All players, save. This is what you're seeing.
But then again, I may have knocked on the wrong door.
So he kind of sits and he looks and he says, "If you are not here for my treasure, then I have no quarrel with you, Paladin." He spits the word from his mouth as though it's kind of become unsavory to even speak the words.
All right, I'm casting Divine Sense. Is this the inky blackness?
Yes, it is. This is the inky blackness. Inky blackness of Mormesk the Wraith.
So I snuff the torch out.
Okay.
And for a moment, it's pitch black in the room.
Yes, it is black as pitch.
And then all of a sudden, my sword blazes with radiant light as I cast my channel divinity on it, which is Sacred Weapon.
Okay.
Which is here. Let me post it. As an action, not an action.
Okay. Let's do your attack rolls.
And so it lights me up, and it's got a 20-foot radius, and I've got my shield out, and I go, "You may have no quarrel with me, but I have a quarrel with you."
And so with that, everybody roll me initiative.
Woo-hoo!
Leroy Jenkins. Love it. I'm gonna keep that Wraith picture up just because you looking.
First.
Okay. We're gonna roll. Everybody's got it. Descending. Tiger Lily. Tiger Lily does go first. So you guys hearing this Mormesk at this point, you hear this spectral laughing that's just dripping and oily, oozing with just sinister intent. Tiger Lily feeling this, what does she do?
She's gonna run in the room and try and pounce on him.
Okay.
Can she do that with the Wraith? Are they like, ghosty, can't you later?
Well.
So this one in particular.
I can't say that's
yeah,
it's knowledge, not character knowledge.
Yeah. so roll me a. Let's see if it's gonna be with her. Roll me a wisdom check with Tiger Lily, and we'll see if she would recognize it. Okay, 19. So her instinct, upon seeing or upon knowing that a lot of incorporeal beings, a lot of times in order to damage them, it usually would take it depends on what form they're taking, if that makes sense. Like if they're taking a more visceral physical form, or if it's something that's more spectral in nature. But she gets the sense that she could try, and her will to attack is there, and she can definitely give it a shot, but she's not entirely certain that it will connect. And Roland, is that three? That was your last divine sense, is that right? Earlier.
I actually have 4. I am a level 4 paladin now.
Okay, sweet, perfect.
Wait.
Just checking.
I have 1 more.
Okay.
Okay, so what form has he taken? Is he
So
more of a, like, spectral form? Or...
She doesn't see him, but from Roland's perspective, he can see that it's more of a specter. Wraiths have very little material purchase, but when they do coalesce, there's some damage to be taken, but they are, yeah. Her intuition speaks to that, that it's not going to be as effective for her.
Okay, so what she's gonna do, she's gonna, after hearing the laugh, she's gonna run in the room
Okay.
and hold her action unless she is attacked or
Okay.
somebody else is attacked.
Okay. So she pulls in there. She kind of stands. Do you want to go ahead and move her where she wants to go? Okay. So that's 5, 10, 15, 20. Perfect. Okay, so she kind of comes in the room, takes a defensive posturing. Mormesk, and his glowing eyes, his yellow glowing eyes, looks to the doorway and tracks her movement as she enters the room. And then I'm going to put a little marker on her so we say that she's waiting.
Nice.
How convenient. All right, Clandon.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Clandon.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh.
Real quick.
Okay, you're good. I'm just making sure. I had to mute my mic for a second. I wasn't sure.
Alright, so I still don't have full visibility of what's going on, so I'm gonna step over here.
Okay.
Or here to try to get a view of what's going on in the room.
Okay, so as you see this, you step around. You do see the glowing light emanating from Roland himself, and what looks like just a shifting shadow with a face that is hovering in the middle of the room.
Okay.
Okay. But you are able to see.
See, do I got a shot from outside here, or do I need to step into the room?
You can shoot from out there. He's pushed the doors wide open. These doors are just completely gaping.
Okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and cast. Let's see. I'm gonna cast Hunter's Mark
Okay.
on the Wraith.
Okay, go ahead.
And then I'm going to go ahead and take a shot with my bow, aiming for the only part that looks solid, which is his head.
All right, perfect. So you've got it. Go ahead and roll. Keep that there. 17 on a 17. That. And this is with just your longbow, with the thing in there. Go ahead and it hits.
Nice.
11
roll
piercing.
your puncher's mark.
Yes,
Yep.
roll your hunter's mark damage as well, please. 5, and give me just 1 second. I'm doing some rule checking. Not helpful at all. So, vulnerability, resistance, immunity to certain types of damage. Particular creatures even resistant to immune to damage to non-magical attacks. Magical attack. This.
What are you looking for?
Right now, I'm looking at it because it has resistances, but not. So the resistance. What I'm trying to find out is what the modifiers is. Is it like half damage? Is it because it doesn't say here?
Resistance is always half damage.
Half damage, okay, because that's what I thought it was. I just wanted to make sure that my facts were not.
Resistance is always half damage, and then immunity is no damage.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Thank you. We're now clear. So, Clandon, you hit for 15 piercing damage. Now, that Hunter's Mark, what type of damage is it?
The Hunter's Mark.
Is it force damage? Is it?
It just says extra damage.
Okay, so it'd be. I'm gonna assume that that's on top of the piercing. So we'll just say it's piercing damage. So that is 16. So you see it kind of pass through him, and you would expect that shot. You know that shot would have hurt pretty well, but you see, for the most part, the momentum is just dissipates as it hits him.
Got it.
Okay, So next up, Mormesk. As you kind of see in this room, he says, "You are foolish mortals. I have been here longer than any of you have even existed. I will get my revenge." And he's going to use his movement. He's going to move forward to Roland. And he is going to attack.
Save me the trouble.
Yes. Please do a Constitution saving throw for me, please.
Ooh. Different kind of attack. That's a 4.
That's a 4. Okay, so... by an amount equal to the damage taken. Oh, are you kidding?
Oh, no.
Hold on.
Is this a draining touch?
I'm rereading. This is life drain. So you see, Clandon, as he walks forward, you see Mormesk just kind of like the Death Eaters you'd see on Harry Potter, and you see as just this incorporeal image of Roland's soul beginning to tear and pull at his life force. You take 23 necrotic damage.
Oh.
And that your hit point maximum is reduced by an amount equal to the damage taken. This lasts until you finish a long rest. Holy crap.
Okay, so question. If we can't...
And that's an attack for... Go ahead.
If we're not in the room, then reactions wouldn't really work, right? Because we can't
yeah.
necessarily see.
You wouldn't necessarily see it, no.
And...
Unless you have some kind of like... there are some feats that allow you to be super attentive, which I think you have.
I don't know, right?
What's your passive perception? 19? 20? You would probably have heard it. I mean, the door obviously banged open. You see the light coming off in there. You're aware of something in there, but you're not aware of what it is. It's not like you could just... Oh, that's
so
a...
could I
Great.
cast my reaction of Rebuke the Violence then?
Are you in line of sight of him? Because I think that requires you to be... You have to see him, right?
It's just one of my channel divinities. It's not like a spell.
It's not a spell. What's the range? Is it a touch spell?
Attacker within 30 feet.
So 5, 10, 15, 20. He is within... I would allow it. You're relatively within range. You might have seen what was going on. You would have a point of where he's at. But you look at the spell specifically. If it says you have to see him, like you have to have line of sight, then no. So let's see. Rebuke Violence immediately 20 feet. Against a creature other than you, you can use your reaction. So it does not say that they have to be within line of sight. So yes, you could rebuke the violence.
I just didn't know if I could use it because I can't really see him. But since my perception
According to
warrants
that, yes, you would be able to use your reaction despite not being able to see him. It does not say that you have to see him.
Yeah, otherwise it would say one creature that you can see makes an attack. Instead it's
Okay. Well then, if I can use it, I might.
Okay, go ahead and as you roll it, so wisdom saving throw. More mask for your here. Okay, wisdom. He's gonna roll. Natural 20.
So he takes half damage.
Yep. So he takes half as much damage, and that is
Radiant.
radiant equal to the damage it just dealt. Woo.
So 20.
So it
11,
is.
Or, sorry, no, 11 damage.
Looking at its.
23 would round down to 11.
It doesn't have any weak. So it shows its resistance and immunities. I don't see specific to this. The radiant. I want to say radiant in general. Is that not for undead as well?
It used to be, but I don't know if it
'Cause
still is. It might. Are you okay if I look at this monster? I'm not gonna cheat.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I just want to make sure.
Spectre?
I just want to make sure. No, this is it's a wraith specifically. So the reason I'm doing this is I just want to make sure that I'm being fair to you guys about it, because it doesn't say here that he has a weakness to radiant, and I know there are spells that say if it's undead they take extra damage, but this particular one does not. And so I want to make sure
it has to hit me with the weapon attack first. That's what I thought.
The weapon attack was a 21.
Okay, yeah, that does hit me. Phew.
Okay. That's I thought it was, but
I just want to check something else too, because I want to make sure that.
because yours is 19, right? Your AC.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to check something else really quick. But yeah, it doesn't look like there's any sort of. If it does, it would be like whenever they take radiant damage, it would be a just like a special condition thing.
Right. So I think we'll probably rule it then that unless it says in the spell that they take extra damage because of being undead, that we'll just proceed as though it's just whatever. So it is magic, so it's not something that's it's not going to be halved at least. So that is it is halved for the one, but it wouldn't be halved.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So 23, half of that is going to be 12 and a half. 11. 11. I'm sorry. 11. So he's going to take 11 radiant damage, and he's going to just kind of recoil. Watch.
And Roland is looking very worse for the wear now. He's like half emaciated, but he's still standing strong. And is it my turn?
Yes.
It is my turn. I'm going to let out a mighty roar and swing in with my weapon.
Okay. Make your attack.
And this is going to be an extra +3 on top of this, so that's
okay.
Oh, sorry, not +3. What was it?
This is the +3 to attack rolls.
+3, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So
20. Yes, definitely hits. Roll for damage.
So I am activating Divine Smite at the with one of my second level spell slots.
Okay.
So I am going to be doing an extra 4d8 because he's an undead to this. And that's radiant damage, and my longsword counts as a magical weapon right now as well.
Okay, perfect.
So it's the 6.
Okay.
Actually, because that's the.
Because of one-handed. Yep.
Yep. And then roll.
Go ahead and just give me the total, and then I'll add her in there.
16 extra damage on top of that.
16 extra damage on top of that, so that is going to be 22.
Yep.
So 22, and it is magical, you said?
Yes, it is.
And it is radiant? Is that radiant damage or thunder? Okay, cool.
It's radiant damage.
It just, this guy's got a crazy amount of information on him. So.
Oh no, actually, it just says extra damage, extra weapon damage.
So if it's extra weapon,
it's still weapon damage on my magical weapon. So.
Okay, perfect. So minus 22. So you see as he kind of recoils and you hit him, and his visage just kind of, and he says, "My work, you will not have it."
And then as a bonus action, I'm going to cast Healing Word at the first level on myself.
Okay, go for it.
And it is, let's see, because cure wounds.
Make sure, and too, that when you do, you have you're temporarily reduced by the hit points that you lost.
Yep, I have that already. So.
Okay, just making sure.
So it's 1d4.
And then next up, while he's doing that, Aurora.
Ugh.
So 3 healing.
3 points.
And then Venfina, you're on deck. If you're talking, we can't hear your mic. Just making sure.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I said I just came back and everybody looks horrible. Do I want to enter this or what's going on?
Question first. What was Tiger Lily's trigger?
If she was attacked.
If Tiger Lily was attacked?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead with what you're... So you see everybody kind of going in this room. You saw a dark shadow coalesce around Roland, and basically Death Eater suck his face and rip pieces of his soul just consumed into Mormask.
Okay, if I did my sharpshooter, would that go around Roland?
Yes, because it ignores cover, unless it's total cover, and Mormesk is a large kind of billowing creature. So he's kind of, you would be able to shoot, you'd be able to see part of him, so he does not have total cover. Yes, your sharpshooter would allow you to shoot past without hitting him, unless you get a natural one.
Alright, I'm gonna try that.
Okay. Go ahead. All right, so 3.
And no.
Okay, so you kind of see this, and it shakes you. It's like, holy crap. And as you kind of step back, skeleton kind of arm falls and kind of almost like latches onto your leg, and you kind of fire off into the distance. Gives you a little bit of a jump scare.
Wait, there are skeletons in here too?
Just like dead skeletons.
Inert
not
skeletons.
I checked.
Yes, he checked. They're inert. They are not moving.
Okay.
You do have a second attack.
Oh, that's right, I do. I'm gonna do it again.
Okay. So you kind of
I
get the
forgot
heebie-jeebies out.
second attack, dang it.
I'll remind you sometimes, but I won't remind you every time. Okay, so 10 does not hit. So you shoot, again, you kind of steal yourself, kick the thing off, and you shoot kind of frustratedly. But you're afraid to hit Roland at this point, and it does not connect. Benfina. Tiger Lily on deck.
Alright, who is outside of the room with me?
Me.
Is the door
Thank you.
open then? The door's open so we can see in there?
Yes, the door. Both doors are fully open, completely wide open. Partially off their hinges in some places, but yes, fully open.
Okay, so can I see that angle that I'm at then?
You can see Tiger Lily, but you probably need to move a little bit up to be able to see both of them clearly. You cannot see Mormesk from you're the one down here. Wait, I got you backwards. I got the two, you and Aurora's mixed up. So yes, so Aurora, before we go anywhere, Aurora, where did you want to move to be able to see him?
I moved up one right here.
Okay, perfect. All right, now Benfina, yes, if you were anywhere up to about this point, you'd start to lose vision. So if you step closer, you're going to see a little bit better, but you do have Clandon and Roland between you and Mormesk.
Alrighty. Well, I'm gonna use my... Hold on, actually. Alright, I'm gonna melee this guy.
Melee who?
Senor Ghost Dance.
From back there?
No, I'm gonna face step up to him.
Okay, okay, got it. So you're face stepping, got it. And that is your... Is that a bonus action or an action?
It's a bonus.
Okay, perfect. So your bonus action, you guys see is... what form are you in right now? You in winter form, autumn, summer?
I don't remember.
I'm gonna
You were
assume
winter.
winter was last time I heard you. So you guys see is like this cold chill wind just... And then Elsa would be proud. You see snowflakes and just... There's a Benfina standing next to Mormesk.
Okay, and then I'm gonna attack him with my glaive. And I'm gonna use Divine Smite if it hits.
Okay. Go ahead and roll your attack.
Okay. Or do I just hit the Divine Smite?
Click on Divine Smite. I believe it has your... Okay, so the 15, it hits. Divine Smite, click on the Divine Smite word, and I think we set it up to just roll your... Let's see, 2d8. Check your glaive, but I believe that is correct.
It should be one more. Oh no, never mind. Sorry.
And then if it's undead, plus the 1d8, yes. So that's 13 plus 4. So as you see, and you come into the room, the wraith kind of pulls back, and he kind of, as he's coming forward to you, how do you disperse of his remains?
Good job.
Nice gun.
Just like a
Freaking hard-hitting paladin, son of a gun. Duh.
He is dead, so I get an extra boost.
He's a challenge rating of 3, and you guys opposed him in like 3 rounds.
We just
not
need
even
to
not even a round.
Seriously. Anyways, okay, so you hit him?
It was scary.
Describe it again. I'm sorry, I was in the midst of my fury.
Oh, just like a clean slice right up the middle of him and like slice him across the head too.
So as she comes up, and you feel as the tip of the spear nears the roof of this house, you feel this sparking divine energy as it through the ceiling, and you see his eyes get a little bit wider, and you will not have my... And then you come down and you hear this thunderous as she slices, and his head just as he disperses into nothingness, and the room, the blackness, that oily, thick, sinister feeling in the room dissipates as he dies.
Roland collapses to his knees and says, "Oh, thank God."
And I'm gonna just kneel over and do 10 lay on hand points.
Thank you. That brings me up to almost max because my current maximum hit point total is 20.
Woo! That first hit was... Damn.
That was a good hit. That
Dang.
was amazing.
So he rolled...
It literally dropped me down to 3 hit points. Like I was this close to being a dead sandwich again.
So he had to roll a 3d8 plus 3. He rolled a 7, 6, 7, and then plus the 3. So it's 23 freaking damage. Wow. Okay, so as it kind of coalesces in the room, you guys, the thrumming that lasts for 10 minutes, right? Your weapon, or is it just one action?
It's 1 minute.
1 minute. So for a little while longer, you start to see it flicker, and you see the room as it continues to give you some light to see in this room before it kind of smelts out. What you see again in this room, this seems to have been almost the crypt or the entombment of this mage. You see an embalmed, almost just ashen remains of what previously was, as far as you can tell, probably the Mormesk's physical form. His body before he had before he was destructively destroyed in this room. You kind of look around, you start to take in the surroundings. Those of you who are proficient in Arcana, go ahead and make me a investigation check for me, please.
Sorry.
Whoa.
Shooting for the moon, are we?
Dang, I kind of wish it was an Arcana.
I'll take the first roll just because, yeah, they're all the same rolls. If you're rolling one or the other, it's just what we're adding to it. So the 23, Clandon, you're not seeing a lot, but Venfina, this room is speaking to you. You've seen rooms like these, not necessarily in the more pious areas where you're trying to use divine magics, but you get the sense that this was a dormitorium for the mages. You feel that this room just emanates with this that feeling of longing and loss of craftsmen who, at one point, this was the homestead of wizards for this Wave Echo Cave. You're standing in the sleeping chambers of men and women that have crafted some of the most beautiful and wonderful magical artifacts that are known. And you get the sense that he has been laid to rest, and that his soul that had been anchored to this place and twisted and tormented over the years has passed on to a greater plane of existence.
I'll idly raise my hand and weakly point over to the iron chest that I saw when I first came into the room, and I just go, "Clandon, over there."
Okay.
What? Okay, I'll go check it out. Where was it at?
So a scorched chest, it's at the bottom of the bed. So as you approach, You see again, this chest is just like everything else in the room. Whatever explosion that had done this damage to the room has also made its way to this chest, and it is unlocked. And as you kind of look at it and handle it and things, again, it's the exterior has been burnished with whatever flame that had consumed this place.
All right. It's not melted shut, is it?
No, it's not melted shut. As far as you can tell, it's unlocked.
Well, then I open it up and see what goodies are in there.
Okay, so you fling the hinge open.
Poison.
And you hear a snap as the top of the chest kind of falls and clatters to the floor in a large kind of thick charcoal sound. And you look inside and you see a little bit of treasure. I'm going to roll it right in here. That's 1,100 copper pieces. That is 160 silver pieces, 50 electrum pieces. You see 3 diamonds.
Ooh.
And then I'm going to say page 47 for appraisal. And then you have a wooden pipe adorned with platinum filigree. Pipe with filigree. And then you see a handful of magically preserved tomes that are, you know, as you're kind of doing this, you see some shelves that somehow have made it through all of this. Over here, basically on the different walls and things, you have small stone shelves that have persisted, and you're starting to notice that there are some other artifacts and things in this room. One in particular catches your eye.
Planned desire or all of ours?
Whoever's over by there. So whoever's in that vicinity looking at the treasure.
I'm still recovering.
Okay.
Hey guys, we got a lot of treasure in here.
This was definitely a place of mystery and magic, and I'm sure many things can be uncovered in this room. Let's see what we can find.
Okay.
So I'm gonna stand up and like weakly make my way over to the chest.
Okay.
And look down at it. How heavy would that be to carry? Because obviously 1,100 copper pieces is
a lot.
A lot.
Yeah, so it would be, I don't know the exact weighting on the, what did we end up ruling on those for every?
It was about 50 coins per pound is what we said.
Yes, so 50 coins per pound. So if we take, let's just take all those as just coins, because they would be relative in size ish. So that's going to be 1100 plus 160 plus 50 divided by 50 coins per pound. That's 26 pounds.
26 pounds worth of stuff.
Minus, that's not including the chest, the diamonds, or the pipe. So again, you see, as you're kind of approaching and you see this, the hinge or the top of the things on the floor, you do see the personal effects of Mormesk, with the one floating to your eyes, as far as what's sitting there amid all of the ash, sitting on top of this sea of just black and darkness, is a magically preserved tome.
Where he died?
Not where he died, on the, just basically on the shelf near his personal effects.
Oh, wow.
Everything else in here has been turned pretty much to ash or burnished or destroyed.
How do you guys want to divvy this up?
I say we take the treasure chest with us, and because does it look like there's room for more in here?
This one seems like it was very carefully kept and placed. Particularly the pipe. It seemed to be kind of the centerpiece of everything as far as it was in there when it was originally opened. As for more room, you could fit a little bit, but I don't know that you're going to fit a huge amount, just because of the structural integrity of this chest is already impaired. It does not have a lid. It doesn't have a lid anymore.
disintegrated when I opened
No, it didn't disintegrate. It just fell off.
It
right?
fell, yeah, it broke off. The hinge itself was
Yeah.
melted. It fell off as you opened it.
I'm going to take the lid and I'm going to put it back on top of the chest,
Okay.
and then I'm going to touch it with just the 2 fingers and run along it, and as I do, a little silver light runs along it as well, and I cast Mending, which is my cantrip that allows me to repair small items. Perfect.
So as you see this, now is this a mystical mending, or is there, or would Roland be a more practical mender?
It's probably a combination of both. Where Gon's power will just let me fix what is too broken to be replaced or repaired.
Okay.
I do so, and otherwise I pull a few things out of my pack, like a couple patches and some metal and everything, and reinforce the box.
So upon doing this, you see what the hinges that used to be these gnarled pieces of shorn metal begin to reform themselves into a shape that could be more useful for holding the pinion on the back to keep the hinge on the actual box itself. You're able to get that in there and fashion, a very rudimentary latch mechanism to keep it open and closing. You have a way to keep it shut as well. So this is now a functioning chest. And with the added weight of the chest, I'd probably say it's probably about 35 pounds with the coins and everything else inside.
If 2 of us carry this between us, we might be able to take it with us. However, if we don't want to have that much weighing us down, we should divide the silver and the electrum and the diamonds. And then the rest should just be left, or maybe we each take a little bit of copper.
I do have something that might help with transporting this. I have something called Find Steed, where I can summon a spirit and create a horse.
Is the horse a large creature? Like, how much space does it take up? Because we don't want.
Well, it is a strong and.
Should we do like a sturdy donkey?
I can make a war horse, a pony, an elf, or a mastiff.
Ponycorn. A mastiff being a dog.
But it looks like it only lasts 10 minutes.
Okay. Let's we don't want to keep holding up to cast spells, and that's going to drain a lot of your divine favor throughout the day. So we should. I think the best course of action is to mend this up, unless we're all okay with taking shifts carrying this chest with us.
Actually, that was the casting time. It just takes me 10 minutes. The duration is instantaneous. That's what it's.
What?
Is that backwards? I don't know.
Let me look up the spell here. Find Steed. Find Steed. Casting time is 10 minutes. Duration, let's see here. It says... it doesn't have a limited duration, actually. Basically, you bond with the steed, you make a connection with this spectral animal, and then it's summoned at your will, and then you dismiss it at your will as well. So basically, it takes a lot of effort to make the steed, and then it takes a lot of effort to make it again. So I don't want to have you bond with something like a pony and then later have to change it out and everything.
Right.
It's no worry. We can do whatever. If you do want to transport it that way, we've got that option.
I mean, Tiger Lily could probably carry it.
And limit one of our greatest fighters.
It's true.
I mean, okay, so the question comes down to how much do we really 1,100 copper pieces, because the rest can be divided up pretty easily.
I'm not too concerned with copper.
Yeah. So I think if we divide the silver and the electrum up, and then each of us takes, or 3 of us take a diamond, and the other person gets the pipe and the spell book, I think would be fair.
I'd be fine with taking the pipe and the spell book.
I actually wanted to examine the pipe before I decided if I wanted it.
Oh, no worry. I don't concern myself with the
Spellbook, are you referring to the tome?
Yeah, the tome. Yeah,
Okay,
sorry, not
got
the spell book. I don't know that it's a spell book. It could be. I actually, yeah, I mean, if the pipe is something special that I can work with, crafting wise, I'd like to take it. Although now that I'm thinking about it, it might mean pipe as in smoking pipe, not pipe as in plumbing pipe.
That's what I
Correct.
was thinking.
It's like Bilbo Baggins' pipe.
It's just like a long tube. It's just sitting in there. I don't know.
I've got like fantasies of what smoke creatures I could create.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and examine the pipe really quick.
Okay.
Not with any spell, I just want to make like an investigation on it and
Okay.
see if I can see anything about it. See
So-
if it's got what
roll
the
me.
filigree is, if it's got any sort of special properties that I can tell or anything.
Okay. So smelling the pipe and looking at it, it seems to be your typical, like a very nice adorned tobacco pipe. Smelling it, you smell the wood, and the feeling of it is very finely crafted, very thin and nimble as far as the actual the build quality of it. The filigree is platinum, as you can see as you're going through it. You don't necessarily see anything of it aside from that it seemed to have been used frequently, but also very well maintained.
Okay.
It is very, very fine craftsmanship.
Well, it doesn't appear to be anything extremely special.
Would it be Arcana to look over the tome?
Yes. You get the sense this tome itself. Who's picking it up? Are you inspecting it, Clandon?
So I haven't picked it up, but it's right in front of my face essentially. So I just want to kind of look it over.
Okay, so you're looking at it. You see why you know that this particular element or this item is magically protected in some form or fashion, because everything else around here has either turned to ash, has been destroyed. This looks like it had just been printed. The book is relatively small. It's about the size of maybe a pocketbook or anything else. The leaves in it look to be very fine vellum, at least just kind of looking at the book itself. And on the outside, when you're trying to read some of these arcanic symbols from this school of magic that you're not necessarily as familiar with, you're not quite able to kind of decipher what it means. But you get the sense that because this guy's the stuff that he carries and things, you get the sense that it's probably a wizard's, something that has to do with a wizard. But you're not really sure what it is, just because it's in a kind of a cryptic cipher to your eyes.
Can I use my Arcana? Does it carry over from earlier?
From earlier? No, you'll roll it again. Because this will be a separate, you're looking at something different. Okay, 17. So looking at this, you again see this, you're familiar enough that you can kind of piece things together. And you see that this book is actually, it's not necessarily a spell book, but it's a tome that details information about the region, about different magical items that were produced, and in particular, are you handling the book, or are you just looking at the book as it sits on the shelf? Hold on. We're being...
Children behave.
Please wait. Becca. Alright.
You can only keep the kids away for so long.
Seriously. Well, I could lock the door, but then they might burn the house down. I'm not sure. Can you answer my question, Rebecca, and we can move on? Alright, we'll move on. So, I asked, are you handling it? What are you doing to inspect this tome?
Oh, I just want to know what the contents are.
So, looking at it, it looks to be historical, it looks to be clerical in nature, record keeping, as well as some historical, almost like a similar in size to like this, right? So it's kind of like almost like it's a what do you call it? A field book that this of records and things of that this particular wizard thought was important.
Okay. Yeah, if y'all don't mind, it looks to be information about what they study here and might be of use to us later on. So it's definitely worth hanging on to.
All right. I would be more than happy to hand you that in the pipe. I'll take, and then the rest of us get a diamond. So everybody can add 1 diamond. Your equipment.
All right, so you guys get your stuff together.
Yeah. So
I wanted to go in this closet.
okay. So 1 diamond each.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just trying to type it out before I forget.
Okay.
And then everybody gets 12 electrum pieces, and there's 2 left over, and I'm going to give those to Vamfina because she didn't take a diamond.
Okay.
So everybody gets 12 EP. And then everybody gets 40 silver pieces. And then I'm actually going to take 100 copper for myself.
Okay. Perfect. Did you guys finish divvying up the spoils?
This will go a long way towards getting me a better suit of armor. So this will be nice. It's 12 electrum pieces and 40 silver pieces, and 1 of the diamonds. And if you want to take some of the copper, you can, Aurora. Okay, that I've got everything written down. So,
Okay.
did somebody say they were entering the room?
Oh, there's just a little closet right here. It looks like.
Yep. So looking in there, this same thing. The door itself, seemingly pretty much suffused with the door frame itself. You're able to push it out of the way, kind of look inside. This seems to have been the chamber where they would have kept their clothes or other things, chamber pots, etc. And this just seems to be a storage room, but everything in here is turned to ash and cinder.
Check the chamber pots for gold. And then, so I look over at Vamfina and I'm like, is there anything in there that we should be worried about?
It just looks like a storage closet for dust.
All right. And then I turn to everybody else and I go, I am physically and mentally drained after that. I need to rest at this point. Oh, and by now the light would have gone out. I probably would have lit my torch, by the way.
Okay. So you relight your torch.
Mm-hmm.
You have it in the room.
Yeah, just by lighting everything.
What's this little thing in the corner?
What little thing? So that right there seems to have been a place similar to the others that you had, like for light, a brazier for burning things. This normally would be, you see that it was made of brass at some point, but now it has, between the mixing of the different the heat that it was treated with all the other stuff in the room, it's warped and just kind of, it's there, but it seems to be just kind of a puddle of metal and wood and stone.
Well, I think this is a good place to rest. There's conveniently beds, so.
I still think we should sleep in shifts, but I agree we should rest here for tonight.
Now the doors, when you had pushed them open, they are kind of off hinge a little bit because, again, these doors were basically the hinges and things that held them fast have been broken with the smashing into the room, so they're kind of hanging on. But
can I mend them?
You can.
Okay, I'm gonna walk over there just so that we can have more security tonight, and I'm going to work on pushing the doors back into place and mending the hinges with Gon's divine favor.
Okay, so you guys see little torch.
Yeah.
He goes, as he mends the doors, it takes a little while to in small shifts, small things, putting things together, but you are able to fashion something that keeps the doors relatively hung, where you're able to close them and bar them in some fashion.
Okay, so we can bar the doors.
Yeah, so there's nothing to hang it on, but if you wanted to put something in front of it or use some of the furniture that's ashen, charcoaly, you could definitely try and barricade it if you'd like.
Yeah, let's barricade that door.
Okay. And you hear that again, the pulse, that familiar pulse like a rumble go through the cave every 2 minutes. So you guys go in there. Now are you guys wanting to take a short rest, long rest? What is your intent?
I am taking a long rest.
Okay.
I have I'm missing half my health right now, so
long, perfect.
Yeah,
so
sit in this corner over here and pull out the old dulcimer and start plucking away.
Okay, so Clandon's silently.
I'll eat a nice meal as well.
Playing, you're eating.
Well, a nice meal of rations, so however nice that is.
Okay, so you guys get through the night. If you guys aren't doing things during that time, like talking, what have you, you are able to take a long rest without incident.
I didn't hear anything.
I'll try again. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
You are able to, unless you guys are doing any additional talking or other things, you are able to complete a long rest. Assuming that you each, again, were taking shifts, there was no incident. You do hear the last person on watch. Who would have been taking the last person?
I'm fine with being last. I'd also like to study the tome a bit more while we're resting.
So while you're sitting there, one of the things you notice is you hear the occasional sounds out in the cavern. Things that you'd normally hear: bats, the sound of water dripping, the rhythmic as it hits. And as you're studying into this tome, you're looking in and seeing things, and you find some odd scrawlings where, no matter how much you seem to try and focus on these symbols, they shift and they move and they don't seem to stay where you would expect. And with them, you find a map. And this particular map seems to speak of an area that you're not familiar with. This doesn't look like any map that you have seen before. But as you're reading through, you're not able to see kind of decipher the text that accompanies it. As far as you can tell, this seems to be some kind of a magic protection against this particular information. Seems to be important to them. But the map itself does have a title that you're able to read. A couple of the places, and one of which says Chult.
And before we took a rest, I do think I want to summon a steed.
Okay. So pre-long rest. So as you guys were doing that,
so just like,
what form does it
like
take?
10 minutes. I don't know. What's the difference between a warhorse and a mastiff?
Warhorse is gonna
One
be
is a horse and the other's a dog.
a dog. Yeah. The mastiff is like a really big
I was
dog.
thinking those. What are those horses called that are like humongous?
Clydesdales, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say claymores.
You know, I would like to have a mastiff.
Okay. So you got a cat and a dog. So you get this as you're kind of doing this. What aspects does he take? What is his?
Well, it says he's unusually intelligent, strong, and loyal. Appearing in an unoccupied space.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as you're sitting there and you're thinking about protection and you're thinking about how you want to help protect your friends and how you need the strength to move and to be able to help carry these things, and you feel on the annals of the universe, wherever the gods reside, you feel a resonance, and upon which you feel, as you're continuing this communion with your god, that a small amount of kind of a glowing, emanating light appears, at which time you see step forth a large paw as a large mastiff emerges from this portal from another realm.
It also says that it can be celestial, fae, or fiend.
Which would you prefer? I mean, it's typically those are types of creatures, but if again, this is a creature that if you want to give it some kind of aspect.
Well, if it's fae, would it have ancestry traits as well?
Not necessarily, but it would take on the physical. I would say it would be the same as a mastiff, but it would take on the physical aspects of what you want. Like, do you want it to look like the Feywild? Do you want it to look all like Cerebus, gatekeeper to the doors of hell type of thing? What do you want it to look like?
I'd probably go with the fae, because that's just what I come from. So.
And it will be with you forever.
Forever. That's exactly the dog that it is too. It's the big Cujo dog. So he steps forward, and you feel as he sits down, and he has this large, massive body, his paws sitting before him, his large maw looking at you, and piercingly looking you in the eye, and this feeling of understanding and connection that you haven't felt before. So at that point, he is there, and he. What do you want him to do? Like go curl up, lay down there by the.
I just want him to stay alert. Yeah, like, does he need to rest? Does he need food? He's a spirit. I don't know.
When you don't need him, you just unsummon him, and he goes back to playing to get whatever food he needs there.
Yep.
And recover.
So at this point, you've summoned him, and he is here for whatever you need him to move around.
He gains the ability. So it says if your steed has an intelligence of 5 or less, its intelligence becomes 6, and it gains the ability to understand one language of your choice that you speak.
Okay. So what do you want to talk to him in?
Apparently, I don't know.
Do you want to talk to him in Elvish, Common? Any of the languages you know, you can speak to him. So if you want to talk to him and be able to talk only to him, you can do that. Or you can talk where everyone else understands.
We'll talk in Infernal.
Infernal? Okay, so is he a infernal dog? In nature?
No, we're just gonna talk in Infernal.
Okay. That's totally fine. So you feel that connection.
This is the weirdest mastiff ever.
Yeah. You get that connection.
Does he talk, or does he just understand?
This one, I believe, he doesn't talk. I believe it's intelligent and it can understand you, but it's not like a... it can understand one language, but it cannot speak that language.
But you can communicate with it telepathically as well. Actually, it can't communicate with you. That's you communicating with it. So never mind.
Yep. So you can cast spells off its back and stuff, but it's not. It does not have attacks like a traditional thing does. Right.
Well, technically, you're supposed to use the monster manual stats for it, but I don't know the rules for mounts.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at that up and make sure after
Sorry,
because
I didn't know it was such a wrench in this.
no, it's fine. And I see here that you can use it as your mount both in and out.
Like, it can have intelligence.
It allows you to fight on its back as spellcasting, but it doesn't necessarily say that you can get it to fight, if that makes sense.
Right, and like how does it die or get injured?
If it dies, it just disappears and it goes to the other realm before you.
So yeah, anyway, we can talk.
Yeah. Okay, so he curls up near the door, kind of posturing, expectantly, waiting for whatever you're wanting to say. He watches you as you're studying this manual. Everybody sleeps. Everybody get your long rest. And as you're continuing down this, you kind of hear Venfina specifically, because of your heightened senses and your feat that you took, was you hear in the distance kind of an echoing, like a
like something's throwing up.
Just you don't know. It's just a sound of gurgling, babbling, and the occasional kind of snicker, but it's all echoing in the caverns. You hear the chittering of bats. But nothing happens. You all awaken, refreshed and dark. It's just pitch black.
So I'm gonna light another torch.
Okay.
And actually, I'll ask somebody for a torch because I'm sure the one that I had burned out threw out the heating and everything. And I don't have any torches on me because I have a cleric's pack. Didn't think to bring torches to a mine.
So it does.
But,
it does act like another person, right?
so if you let it act independently, it can take a full turn's action on an initiative order to do what it wants. Basically, the DM controls what it actually does.
Okay.
Or you can choose to command it, in which case you can take the dash, disengage, or dodge action with it only.
Okay. So it's not an attacking, typically. I mean, it could, for flavor, go and eat something, but it's not going to be.
Well,
okay.
yeah. If she just left the mastiff to its own devices, you as a DM could be like, oh yeah, it's going to help you in combat because it's loyal to you, or it stays where it is.
It's impassive because of whatever.
Yeah.
Like kind of
So
like
that's up to you.
Drit style with the panther.
Exactly. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Cool. All right. So you guys get it. What do you guys do? Where are you guys going?
First thing I do is I make my armor magical and +1 again in the morning.
Okay.
The blessing of the forge that I get from my cleric level.
So you start to have that. You see the that magical armor essence that starting to fade away, regenerate and begin pulsing again with that, and you see your holy symbol of Gond again continue to act as it does autonomously. So
perfect. And then once that's all done, I will make sure everything's strapped in correctly, and I will turn to everybody else and I say, ready to move on.
Yeah, I think so. And this is my new friend.
Is he here now? Like, is he?
He's sitting by the door.
And he's a large creature, right?
He is.
He's like a horse.
No,
He's a dog that's like the size of a horse.
He's huge.
So he's going to be really cramped in these tunnels. I will greet the dog in a language that it can't understand. Did you name it yet?
No, not yet. We'll think of something. Fluffy. This is Fuzzy.
Okay.
Fuzzy.
Pat him on the head.
And he looks at you kind of in a questioning look. Just kind of, again, his eyes are unusually knowing for a creature.
Oh, Roland looks a little embarrassed and just opens up the door, unbars it, and opens it up. Sticking the torch out first.
He looks over at Venfina, or Fluffy looks over at Venfina, and then back to Roland, and just back to Venfina.
Yep. We have a conversation telepathically.
How is everybody doing outside of the game? Keep going.
Well,
I'm-
Sarah's out.
If Sarah, I'm fine with, if you guys are okay with stopping right now, so Sarah doesn't miss anything. We're at a good stopping point.
Yeah, I think this is a good stopping point.
Yeah, I think she'd appreciate it.
Okay, so as we close out, Roland pushing the door open one more time. Fluffy kind of moving out of the way reluctantly. You hear the. You see again this beautiful array of glittering stones in the ceiling, and take a deep breath and just kind of appreciate the beauty and the wonder that this wave echo cave that has been so long forgotten to men, women, to all races, to know that you're in this place and know that this is something that is special, that it does not happen every day. And as you're doing so, as you're doing so, you feel again the pulse of this mountain, this living, breathing mountain that just pulses and emanates with just life and vitality. And it really just brings the hair on the back of your neck. And that's where we're going to end it for tonight.
Oh, good.
So
I was waiting for the other shoe to drop there.
Yep. I can't drop the shoe every time, but we will.
True, yeah. Good
Gotta
game.
leave you hanging. Good job, everybody. So, yeah, great job. Loved the roleplay. Loved the fun.
Experience for the Wraith fight.
Yes, for the Wraith fight. Let's get that. So, what we have here.
Well, and the mushrooms.
Oh yeah. We fought the
Mushrooms.
I did use an arrow for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's going to
We
be.
spent a long time on those mushrooms.
Yes, it is.
And the traps in the hall.
Oh, the hall.
I'm sure the black spider did too.
The trap hallway.
I noticed it took us an hour just to get through all that.
That's-
the trap corridor and the non-trap corridor.
Yeah.
Hey, there was a mine in there.
I'm gonna give that's 140 experience per person.
Sorry, say that one more time.
For the Wraith. That's 140 experience per person, and then another 50 experience per person for the mushroom encounter. And then I would also like to give inspiration to I think at this point, I think that following your noses, I want to say that everybody gets inspiration that for next time, because I think you guys did a good job with just getting yourself into the character, and this is more like RP inspiration for just appreciating that you guys do that kind of stuff. So
Nice.
so you all have one roll next time.
I did get to be very paladin-like tonight.
You
I
gotta
enjoyed
do
that.
inspiration stack.
No, it does not. So if you already have inspiration, you haven't used it, it does you nothing.
I figured.
Yeah, so we already divvied up the stuff, the experience. If someone can make sure that I will make sure. I'll go ahead and make sure that I put it on Aurora's sheet. But yeah, we'll catch you guys. When is the next time you guys want to meet? There's let's see, Friday the 20th, Friday the 27th.
I might not be available the 27th.
Okay.
I'm not sure yet.
What's the 20th looking like for everybody? That's next Friday.
20th should be okay for me.
Fine for us. Clannon, if it's good with you guys.
For us.
Let's plan on the 20th. I will get a message out to our resident dwarf. I know it seems like he's pretty busy in the summer. With his job takes him. I want to say he did repairs for air conditioners and stuff. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, but I think that's why he's so consumed with that right now. But yeah, so let's plan on the 20th. I'll send a text out to everybody. Thank you guys. Let me know if there's anything that you guys want to see differently. If you do have any like for instance the new spell with the Fine Steed, any of those kinds of stuff. Was there anything else that we needed to research?
No,
I think the steed was pretty much the only one that I want to just kind of look into. But if we have questions about any of your spells and things like that, just let me know and we'll smooth them out. So
thanks
guys.
Heals tonight, Athena.
Good work.
Oh, yep.
Now that everybody can see my health bar, it's a lot easier.
Maybe that's why you died last time, as no one knew.
Yeah,
so.
I'm pretty sure that's why I died last time.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, everybody, for following. If you are watching us on Twitch, Facebook, any of these other ones, we do typically every Thursday have another D&D game that we play in person with Roland, our Niburu, being as DM. Does a really great job, so we'll see you then. Thanks, guys. Peace.
Bye-bye.